Can you be a rock star on stage, at work, in your leadership, and keep the promise of being a great dad off stage at the same time? Today we discuss how that is a choice you have to make. Hey everybody! Yes, welcome to the Jason Hewlett Show. We're talking faith. Who are you when the Wi-Fi is down? Family, they need a first. Supporter. Fatherhood.
I want to be around my kids.
Freedom.
Efficiency is for machines. Presence is for humans.
Fitness.
Sweating.
Funny. LOL. And farce. My dentist can use both hands. Come on. You cannot algorithm character. The character is defined by the decisions you make when there's no audience. Like, I can do my best even without my gift fully working anymore. All of us can do the same. What is your promise even when your signature move is taken away?
Oh, that was so bad.
Welcome to the Jason Hewlett Show. I love seeing the intro my team puts together every single week because it's different. They take highlights from the week before. They are amazing. And today we're going to be talking about how to stop performing your life, the trap of the highlight reel. We're going to talk about Father Time, the empty chair audit, and then we'll go into our trending topic, why I'm resigning from the world's ugly. Then we'll hit health and fitness under the hood. Yeah, as we thank our sponsor, Cardio Miracle, for helping us keep our blood pressure in check in a world that only delivers stress. And I'll tell you the story about how my F-150 Raptor was stolen. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. All that coming up on today's episode.
Wait, does my hair look great? I want to make sure I look like a conscious leader for the opening. Stop performing, Phil. This isn't a stage play. It's about who you are when the cameras are off.
I know. I'm just trying to be intentional. What are we actually promising the viewers today? Faith, family, and the fitness of your character. We're talking about the highlight reel trap that's exhausting us all.
Jason, welcome the room. Why is our reputation costing us our character today?
Doug and Phil, thank you for that great setup. There is no doubt that there is so much going on in terms of that performance. That is the topic of today. And I wanted to talk to you first about how do you find peace in your mind, heart, and life? Yeah, that may not be the direction you thought we'd be going so far first, but that's where we're headed. I'd like you to think about how you create some space for some happiness. And for me, one of the best ways is to go skiing. Yeah, snow skiing. I live in Utah. This is the time of year to do it because when there's snow, you got to go. And then, if you take up all your time working or doing other things, it's a real bummer once the snow is melted because then you're like, I should have done that. Missed my chance. So it's a high priority for me right now. Now, if you've noticed, the world continues to lose its mind, right? I mean, friends of mine in Puerto Rico or in Puerto Vallarta this last week, Mexico, they were enjoying a beautiful sunrise on the beach, and then suddenly bombs started going off, gunshots, smoke everywhere. You heard about all that. I mean, I'm grateful if the escalation of that has calmed down finally, but the men's, women's hockey teams both won gold for the USA, a huge deal for the Olympics, the first time for the men since 1980, Miracle on Ice. And now people are upset at one team and vilifying each other for cheering them on. I don't know. So where are you supposed to turn for peace? One of the things I'd suggest is to just sometimes, it's just a matter of switching off the news, not scrolling on social media for a moment and just shutting down that part of life. Instead, look for peace. For me, it's things like going out in nature. In fact, I want to show you what it looks like with me out in nature. I have a picture of me with my ski mask. If you're watching this on the broadcast, you can see that I look like the Terminator, don't I? And so I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be on a ski lift. You want to see what it looks like up there? That I took a picture of the mountain. This is the mountain at night. Isn't that spectacular? Oh my gosh, what a great spot. This is during the daytime on the side of me here right now. So if you're just listening to the replay of the podcast a little bit later, go check it out on YouTube or on my website where you can see this actually in video form. I also wanted to make a little video for you to just show you what it looks like up on the mountain. Hopefully we can hear this. So I'm going to press play. Here we go. Hey everybody, Jason Hewlett here. The Jason Hewlett Show comes to you from the top of Utah. Yeah, I'm at Brighton Ski Resort, my favorite place to come whenever I get a chance and an opening. But how do you clear your mind? What are the practices you've put into place to give yourself some space to enjoy nature? I hope that you'll get outside this beautiful time of year, even if it's a little bit dreary, dark, and snowy or rainy, wherever you are. Go outside, enjoy nature. It just started snowing on me, and it's such a beautiful time. Check out this beautiful snow. Isn't that cool? Yeah, I hope that you'll take a minute for yourself. I know I had to spend a lot of extra time early in the morning for the last few days just to be able to say, I can go ski for 2.5 hours, and now my legs are torched. So, fitness, yeah, it's all good. And I hope that you have a great day. Enjoy doing what you love. All right. It's fun to make a video up there while I'm so happy and I'm enjoying it. So let me ask you, if you're here with me right now watching on this live stream, we are February 26th. Today, it's Thursday, 3 p.m. every week, Mountain Time. We are live. If you're joining me, I'd love for you to put in the comments, how do you and where do you turn for peace? What is the place that you find that space for your mind to feel happiness and joy? If you're watching with me, please do that. If you're listening to this later on the broadcast, I'd love to know how you're doing that for yourself. For me, it's definitely going out in nature. I mean, I'll take a walk. I'm even in the cold or the rain. I don't care. I'm going for it. Walking in the snow. It doesn't matter if the weather isn't perfect, because really it never is the perfect conditions where I live. It's either too hot or too cold, but just go outside. For me, I'll kind of pull back the curtain a little bit, go a little bit private, if that's all right with you. My music, what I listen to in my earbuds, certain songs and singers for me really do it. Like, I don't know if you've heard of Tame Impala, one of my favorite artists from Australia, and groups, Ben Folds, a great piano man, Billy Joel, Stevie Wonder. This kind of music that just fills your soul. Right? That's the good stuff. I love singing, and that just makes me happy as well. And so sharing my voice, but also the music that makes me happy. I would say there's a hymn from my church that I don't know if you've heard it, so I thought maybe I should sing a little for you. It's called Where Can I Turn for Peace? And if you haven't heard, it's beautiful. I know this is a high energy type show, but this is a way that I turn for peace. It's called Where Can I Turn for Peace? It goes, where can I turn for peace? Where is my solace? When other sources cease to make me whole. When with a wounded heart, anger or malice, I draw myself apart, searching my soul. All right, so that's one of the ways that I turn for peace. I sing a song like that. It just helps me feel better. I was reading in my scriptures recently, and if you read in scripture, you can find that joy, that feeling of presence that comes to us. I was reading a story about, from the good book, that was talking about a father who came upon a tree, and it says this: it came to pass that I beheld a tree whose fruit was desirable to make one happy. That's the kind of tree we all want to find. And it came to pass that I had to go forth and partake of the fruit thereof. So he had some and enjoyed it. And I beheld that it was most sweet above all that I have ever before tasted. Yea, and I beheld that the fruit thereof was white, to exceed all the whiteness that I had ever seen. And as I partook of the fruit, therefore, it filled my soul with exceedingly great joy. Wherefore I began to be desirous that my family should partake of it also, for I knew that it was desirable above all other fruit. When we partake of something that's great, we want to share it with those that matter the most to us. Maybe it's an uplifting podcast that brings you joy. Maybe it's that music you love so much. In fact, I'm taking my wife to a concert tonight in order to spread joy, and she just celebrated her 50th birthday, and so that's a big milestone we're celebrating for the rest of the year. Maybe it's just spending time with family is where you turn for peace so much. Maybe it's just counting your blessings. Amid all the toil and the strife in the world, how can we find peace, happiness, and joy? And so, as we wrap up this segment and welcome you to the show, The question is, what brings you peace?
Wait, move that light. I need this to look like I'm not trying so hard. It takes more energy to pretend than it does to be, Phil. You're paying the maintenance tax. I just want the spring break flex to land. Why do I care what third grade classmates think?
We trade being known for being noticed. Performance is a 24/7 job with no benefits and a boss who doesn't care.
Jason, we're tearing down the set. How do we stop the act before we lose our character?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question, you guys. Great setup. I want to ask you a question that might sting for a little bit. Who are you performing for today? Now, candidly, I'm on camera performing for you, but equally, as much as I want to perform, I want to be absolutely authentic. That's a tricky balance. And we live in a world that has turned our living rooms into film sets and our vacations into marketing campaigns. I don't know if you've noticed that. I think I've seen that quite too often. By this point in the year, the spring break flex is starting. We see the filtered photos of the perfect family, the perfectly toned body, the perfectly clean kitchen. And man, we feel the itch, the pressure to post our way into worthiness. But here's the truth. Performance is exhausting. It's a 24/7 job with no benefits and a boss, the public, right, who doesn't actually care about you. I mean, in my career, I've spent thousands of hours on literal stages, and I know the rush of the spotlight. I mean, it's intense and it's wonderful and it's also intimidating. But I've also learned that if you live for the applause, you will die by the silence. There's an old funny quote that I remember. Sammy Davis Jr. used to live for every show. He would do like 7 to 10 shows per day. It was crazy. He would perform all day and all night. And he used to say he'd come home after the show to his dark house, and the only way he could feel happy again was to open up the fridge and the light would come on and he'd perform 10 minutes for the ham. I know the rush of the spotlight, but I've also learned that if you live for the applause, you'll die by the silence. And when we prioritize our highlight reel over our actual reality, we trade our character for clout. We trade being known for being noticed. And today we're tearing down the set. We're stopping the act. I mean, because the most important leadership you'll ever provide happens when the cameras are off and the audience is gone, whether that's alone or with the family. But it's time to stop performing your life and start living it. So let me just paint the picture for you just a little bit. Let's say I'm doing this huge event where I've done lots of big gigs through the years. This one, if I recall, the particular story came from when I was in Las Vegas, and I performed in an arena about 20,000 people. It was amazing, right? And usually I would come off stage and things would go well. Photographs, selfies, signing autographs, people asking me for more opportunities to perform elsewhere. That's all awesome. It's a highlight reel. It's an amazing thing. But then there's that transition to afterward where you go into your dark hotel room and it's a lukewarm club sandwich staring you in the face and the limited options of the midnight menu. You check your phone and you're looking through social media to see who's posting and tagging you and all that stuff. You're trying to keep it alive. And usually that's when you get a call on FaceTime from your kids or from the house and reality sets in real quick. That's a normal example of what it feels like. But there was one time in particular, 20,000 people, Vegas arena. It was huge. I come back to my hotel room and it is chaotic. And here's why. I brought my family to this event and we were in Vegas for a couple of days. Now, the diapers were full. And what that means is that we had 4 kids in 5 years. My wife is Superwoman anyway. And yet in this moment, she was handling 1 kid and the other kids were all losing their minds, right? So 4 out of 5. Think about it. All the diapers sagging around the room. They're running around. They're screaming. There's snot everywhere. It was just one of those situations. I remember coming back to the hotel room and after I just gotten all these standing ovations and all these people were loving me. And I was like, I don't think this is how rock stars feel. What is this? And that's when it quickly hit me. This is what's most important. Not what just happened on stage, but these people, my family, my wife, my children. And so humbly, I stripped off my performance costume, my outfit. And because that's what it is, a costume, it's a character. it is real life for a moment, but it's like a meta fake thing that then all of a sudden you come back to the reality of your home and you're like, this is what it is all about anyway. And in that moment, I became a dad again, wiping off my sweat from the stage and hugging the children, even with their full diapers, and then changing them and making everybody feel a little happier, relieving my wife for a minute of all the stress of handling all of that alone. It was a great blessing to see the contrast between standing ovation life and real life where I get to be a dad. And so, why do we talk about something like this? Well, why do we care more about the opinion of a high school classmate we haven't seen in 20 years than the person sitting across from us at dinner? That's the audience of strangers, right? Maybe there's the high cost of maintenance, like the mental health tax paid when you have to maintain a fake image. It takes more energy to pretend than it does to just be. And so if we were to look at just filtered reality versus unfiltered character, character is what remains when the filters are stripped away. Performance is about impression, and character is about impact. So let's talk about the invisible wins, where we're celebrating the things that will never make it to social media, or apologizing to your spouse, staying up late to help a junior employee who needs your assistance, maybe choosing integrity when a shortcut was available. That's where you look back and say, I'm glad I did it that way. And, we have a validation addiction in our society called likes and comments that act as cheap dopamine that distracts us from the slow, steady build of self-respect. So when you look at your kids, our kids don't watch our highlight reels. They don't. They watch our behind the scenes. So that's the parenting mirror. If they see us obsessed with the camera, they learn that image matters more than essence. So if we're transitioning from stage to home, and whatever your stage looks like, I hope that you're taking this into application for yourself. A practical look at how to turn off the professional persona when you walk through your front door, so your family gets the human, not the brand, is to perhaps just touch that doorway. And we've talked about this on other episodes. Touch the doorway, be grateful for what you just experienced, and now step into being the parent and the father and the person that you are meant to be with your family, fully present. Now, if social media disappeared tomorrow and no one could see what you're doing, what would you change about how you spend your Saturday? And if you want to put it in the comments, I'm curious to find out, are you currently making a decision based on how it will look to others or how it will feel to your conscience? I mean, maybe you don't want to talk about that, but I know I'm guilty of that. And so one of the best ways that I know to do it is to make sure that it's not on my phone. In fact, today I had to remember, as I was putting this script together with my team, I said, I need to delete my apps again off social media because they have gotten out of hand for me again. And so can I be fully present with my family, or am I fully present only with the apps or the work or the stage? Who's the one person in your life whose applause you're addicted to? Why is their opinion louder than your own? It could very well be just the way that the world looks at you and your audience. And so when you're 80 years old, let's wrap this up. When you're 80 years old, looking back, will you be prouder of the achievements people saw or the promises you kept when no one was looking?
Okay, I am officially done with the internet today. My head is literally spinning.
Let's call it what it is, Phil. You brought a screaming stranger into the studio on your phone.
Is this growth or am I just spiraling? I feel more passionate about global arguments than my own breakfast.
Leadership isn't about having an opinion on everything. It's about having a presence for the right things. Jason, take us through the outrage exit. How do we start being the architect of our family's peace?
These guys, Doug and Phil, are wise. They are AI creations, as you can probably tell, but what's cool about them is they can summarize what we're about to talk about in such a great way, and I appreciate their introduction here. It's February 26th, my friend. If you've looked at your phone today, you've probably seen 10 things designed to make you angry, or 5 things designed to make you feel inferior, and a whole lot of ugliness. So, my friends, for years, you've been told that to be a good citizen or a conscious leader, we have to stay informed on every controversy. We've turned our brains into 24-hour newsrooms. Do you like how that feels? I'm looking at the data for 2026, and the cost is finally coming due. We're the most informed, quote unquote, informed generation in history. And yet we're the most anxious, the most distracted, and if we're being honest, the most irritable with the people we actually love. And so, my friends, I'm announcing my resignation today, and not from my job, not from my responsibilities. I'm resigning from the world's ugliness. Yeah, I'm going to do my best to resign from what I see out there. You see, as a father and a leader, I realized I was leaving the front door of my home wide open. I was letting the vitriol of the internet sit at my dinner table. I mean, we have a rule in our family. We don't have the phones at the dinner table, and yet sometimes it creeps in. And so metaphorically, we're letting that in. I mean, I was performing my outrage so people would think I cared, while the people who actually need my care, my wife and my kids, were getting my leftovers. I don't like performing my outrage. I don't like being that guy. And true leadership isn't about having an opinion on everything. It's about having a presence for the right things. I like to say when I speak about promises, don't make everything a promise. That's crazy. That's impossible. Make the promises of the right things, the right promise. It's very few. And yet when you make those right promises, you will keep them more. So it's time to close the door. It's time to stop being a spectator of the world's chaos and start being the architect of your family's peace. So let's talk about the rage bait economy. How algorithms in 2026 are literally designed to steal your joy because angry stays on the app longer. I think that's so right. Why is it a leadership skill to say, I don't have an opinion on that because it doesn't affect my ability to love my neighbor today? That's the luxury of ignorance, isn't it? I mean, I have spent many, many years, my friends, before some of the events that I've done on political stages where I was so out of knowing what was going on that it was bliss, to be candid. Now, it's important to be informed. We don't want to be ignorant completely. There is a luxury of ignorance, but it is a leadership skill to also say, yeah, I don't have that opinion on that specific subject because it doesn't help me love my neighbor today. So let's treat your digital feed like a physical home. Imagine the front door audit, if you will. So if you wouldn't let a screaming, gun-toting, crazy stranger into your living room, then why are you allowing anger, murder, abuse, whatever else onto your phone? It's okay to turn it off. It's okay to scroll away. It's okay to delete the app. It's okay to unsubscribe. Let's talk about performing awareness and how we use outrage as a performance to feel like we're doing something while doing nothing for the people in our own zip code. I have friends that spend their entire day online combating and battling everyone on the planet. As I talk to them in real life, which I have talked to them, they are miserable. I wish them the best. It's okay to once in a while just not respond to everything. And there's a secondhand stress epidemic going on. And how your kids catch the stress you feel from the news, even if you never say a word about it to them, it's actually happening. So I hope that you'll reclaim the morning. The 2026 challenge I would give to all of us is no world ugliness for the first 60 minutes of the day. Only home beauty, if you will. Like the promise of the home is to say, can I wake up and just be focused on family, getting ready and trying so hard? I'm working on doing that myself. And I encourage you to make that promise with me. The first 60 minutes when you wake up, get your family out the door, let them know you love them. I mean, when was the last thing you were outraged about online? And did your anger actually change the outcome of that situation? Probably not. If your children described your vibe over the last week, would they use the word peaceful or distracted? Are you more passionate about global arguments you can't solve than you are about local relationships you can heal? Just look at your neighbor. You could be so much for them. Who is one voice in your digital life that consistently makes you feel heavy or angry? Why haven't you shown them the door yet? As we wrap this segment, when you put your phone down, what is the residue it leaves on your soul? Is it helping you be the leader your family deserves?
I'm booked solid through June. If I'm not moving, I feel like I'm disappearing.
That's a slogan, Phil. Busy is often just a mask for mismanaged priorities.
I don't want to be a legend in my industry and a stranger in my own hallway. The crowd doesn't go home with you. When the show ends, will anyone actually be in those chairs?
Jason, take us into the audit. What is the real ROI of our attention?
Let's talk about the empty chair audit. The quiet after the crowd. There's a specific kind of silence that happens after a show. I've already talked about it earlier, right? The show is awesome, but then the gear is packed, the theater is dark, thousands of people who are just chanting your name are gone. In that moment, you realize a terrifying truth. The crowd doesn't go home with you. We spend our 30s, 40s, and 50s performing, my friends. We perform for the promotion. We perform for the social media feed. We perform to look like the perfect parent or the successful leader. Hey, we're all guilty of that. We fill our lives with noise, people who only know the stage version of us. But I want you to close your eyes. Fast forward 25 years, let's just say. You're sitting in your favorite chair. I call it my comfy chair. In fact, I wrote a song about it. Is there anyone there? Maybe someday I'll release it. I'm in my comfy chair. I wrote about this years ago, a song like that. Because, you get to that point where you're like, I'm the one sitting in my favorite chair. The house is quiet. Across from you are the chairs where your children, your spouse, and your closest friends should be sitting. The empty chair audit is a simple question. When the show finally ends, will anyone actually be sitting in those chairs? Or did you spend so much time performing for the crowd, you forgot to build a relationship with the people in the front row? This one might feel a little bit strong. But Father Time isn't just about how many years you have left. It's about who'll be there to share them with you. As I look at my life and I think about those people that I want in those chairs, it depends on what I do today that will be the result of what happens tomorrow for me. And the front row philosophy is identifying who is in your front row, which you probably would say your spouse, your kids, versus who's in the gallery, which is the internet strangers, acquaintances, people you may have worked with. And you cannot give both groups your best energy. You really can't. There's not enough time. There's not enough presence in all of it. And the high price of busy is, why are we being busy as a performance of importance while it's actually a symptom of mismanaged priorities? The stranger in the house is the danger of being a celebrity in your industry, but a stranger in your own hallway. I've seen that happen, and it's brutal. I am a part of a couple of different associations where there are celebrities of industry there that have no family left. What a shame, what a tragedy. They've given their all to that family and they've made a choice. And that's why we started this whole broadcast, to tell you it is a choice. Investing in unrecorded moments, the value of the 2 p.m. Tuesday call, or the silent car ride with a teenager, right? And these don't make the highlight reel, but they fill the empty chairs. I was talking to my mom yesterday. My mom is in her 70s, and she and I were talking about how my children will remember her. It's not like she's sick or anything and going to pass away. We hope not, for a long time. But she was thinking, what is my legacy with your children? And I said, Mom, do you know how many times you've driven the kids to play practice or to sports or to anything that was of significance? She said, oh, I don't think they'll remember that. And I said, they may not remember a specific car ride, but it was the quantity time that became quality time. And those moments where you can just talk to them and be a part of their lives, that's something they can't get. Now, if you're the grandparent that shows up and does one big thing per year, okay, that's awesome. They'll remember that. That's really good. But showing up for, whether it's the birthday or just texting or calling to find out how things are, my mom and I had an interesting talk about that. And as a dad, I'm constantly trying to figure out if I'm doing it right myself. And so breaking the when-then cycle is stopping the habit of saying, when I finish this project, then I'll be present. Well, Father Time doesn't accept IOUs. Let's talk about the reconciliation window. It's never too late to start filling those chairs. But the window of influence shrinks every time we choose the performance over the person. And so, as we wrap this segment on family, the legacy of ability is a leader's greatest ability is their availability to the people who matter most.
Okay, hear me out. If my future kid loses a truck, am I supposed to grab a Glock or a ski pole?
Neither, Phil. You start by asking where he parked. Signs aren't suggestions, they are the standard.
The AirTag had him racing State Street. I would be spiraling. Is this a growth moment or just a very expensive mistake?
The mistake is just context. Real character is the $400 on the desk. He owned it like a man.
Jason, take us into the variety house. When the AirTag lies, what's the real promise a father keeps to his son?
Great setup. Yeah. This story is very interesting. So I get this call. Hi, son, what's going on? And my 18-year-old, who usually doesn't call me, was on the other line. Dad, the Raptor's gone. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you may question my judgment, but for the last 2 years, I have allowed my oldest boys to drive my F-150 red Raptor 2022 truck. It's perhaps the world's greatest vehicle, owned by my business. And as a gift to them for their senior year of high school, if they are on the honor roll and making good decisions, they get to drive my truck. Well, this night, someone made a bad decision. As calmly as possible, I responded, "Where did you last see it? And where are you now?" He said, "We went to the Utah Jazz game downtown. I parked at a restaurant." I said, "Son, did you buy a meal at that restaurant or pay for parking somewhere?" Because I knew exactly what he was going to say. He said, "Well, we got to the arena late. We couldn't find a place to park, so we just parked there. Why, is that a problem?" I said, "Yeah, my son. That particular establishment is infamous for towing anyone who didn't buy a meal and leave their receipt in the windshield. In fact, there are placards all across the parking lot under bright lights to let you know." I assured him that the truck had been towed. And I told him, "Call the tow company and we'll figure it out from there." I was already driving in that direction. I was kind of far from him, but I started driving that way and I checked my AirTags in my red Raptor. And that's when I noticed something extra odd. My Raptor was at Lee's Marketplace, not at a tow yard, not headed to one. It was at a grocery store. Now a pit hit my stomach. Perhaps someone stole my Raptor. My son called me back, only to say the tow company didn't have our vehicle in their records as one they towed that night. Oh boy. Oh boy. As I updated the AirTag, maybe you've done this. Do you have AirTags tracking things for you? I have them all over the place. As I updated the AirTag, I saw the next place it went. West Temple. Oh man, that is not the route it should be headed if towed. I kept racing that direction up the freeway, and AirTag updated again. Raptor headed down State Street. Oh man, notorious dragging of State Street means someone is out for a joyride in my vehicle. Yeah, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Right? My goodness. As I reached for my Glock to ensure it was loaded and ready, I called my wife to contact the police, as I was now going after my Raptor and the thieves who stole it. AirTag update. The Raptor's now on I-80 going eastbound from Salt Lake City to Mill Creek and headed towards the canyon to Park City. This is a problem. I pressed on the gas a little harder, knowing I'm about to have a shootout to get my truck back. I also had some skis in the back of my truck because I just told you I like to ski. And I knew I could hit someone with them and I could use the poles as swords, right? Well, my wife called and said the police were on it and not to follow the AirTag. The police would take care of it. Well, I've heard that before. I've got this. Yeah. I turned my truck into sport mode and raced up I-15 as if I were in the Fast and the Furious. Here I come. True story, my friend. I'm not proud of it. My AirTag hadn't updated for about a minute. I was closing in on 5300 South, going northbound. Only a few minutes, and I'd be at I-80. Suddenly, the AirTag updated. It was no longer headed up towards Park City, Utah. It was now at the Humane Society. I would be passing the Humane Society in about 30 seconds. As I looked over, I could see the spot where my truck was hidden. And I had just received a call from the police to come and get the boys downtown immediately. Even though they were fine, he needed me to come get them. And knowing my truck was being tracked, I went and got my son and his friends. Pulling up, there they stood with the police and a smirk. Rolling down the window, I asked, silly me, "Hey, officer, are these boys causing you any trouble?" He replied, well, we confirmed just now the truck was towed. Not stolen, as it seemed, and we wish you well getting it back tonight because that's a tough outfit they run. I thanked him for the confirmation. As I mentioned, the AirTag had told me it was stolen, as had the alert from my Ford app. The officer assured me it was towed, as the boys piled into my truck. We made our way back to the Humane Society. Yeah, it was in a tow yard right next to where all the cute dogs and cats live, awaiting a home. This nice lady charged me for every last thing she could think of, assuring me they don't take Amex. And $398 later, yeah, I said that right, $398 later, my friends, the truck was gone for less than an hour. The red Raptor was released from the tow yard. My son drove his friends home. Okay, not stolen, good. Towed, not good. My family had an interesting discussion that night and the next day, and it was determined warnings for parking at the restaurant were ignored. It was an unfortunate decision and situation, and one as parents, we couldn't pay for and needed to be reimbursed and compensated. My son was not happy. I mean, he felt conned by the misleading signs of the establishment we reparked. The next morning, I saw a GoFundMe on my son's Instagram. I told him to take it down because I don't think that's funny. I got home less than 18 hours following the incident after a day of speaking and saw $400 on my desk with a note from my son apologizing for what had happened. Candidly, my son makes money selling thrifted shirts worldwide. He works really hard, as well as he fills orders for our family business, Cardio Miracle. He never spends a penny, my son, and he saves everything. And it was quite the exercise to pay up for this situation, but he owned up to it. He regrets doing it, and he didn't think something like that would ever happen to him. I'm sad he made that choice, but I'm proud he took ownership of it, and he'll likely not break many rules in the future of a car sort. So what is the promise in all of this? First, the promise might be the promise of the AirTag. It's not exactly reliable. The promise of the Ford app, apparently they don't do push notifications when your car gets stolen or broken into. The promise of the dad is to go get the kid first, which I didn't do, and then chase the bad guys later if you really need to, or probably not at all. Maybe just don't follow the AirTag's advice. The promise of the professionals to get up early after a bad evening at home, go to the event, act like everything is fine, return home to whatever mess might still be there. And that's what I did that day. But the promise of the families to be there for each other, hold our kids accountable even when it's uncomfortable, and trust me, this one was just that for us. My son is my workout buddy. We spend much more time together than I spend with anyone else. And yeah, he's preparing for future service for our church. I love him. I'm proud of him for everything. But this night we had a really hard conversation and he took the discussion like a man. So the promise of the family is to have the difficult talk and not skirt around it. Face the facts, hit the head on, and still say, I love you. That's the story of my stolen Raptor. So my question to wrap this up would be, would you have followed the AirTag or let someone else handle it?
Check the lighting on this. I look like a warrior, right?
That's a performance for an algorithm. Your heart is the invisible engine that doesn't care about badges.
I'm training for the mirror, but I'm too tired to play with the kids at 6 p.m.
True heroes stay healthy enough to be present. Leadership is the infrastructure of the heart, not a selfie.
Jason, let's go under the hood. Are we building capacity or just sweating for the camera?
Cool transition, right? We were just talking about trucks. Now we're going under the hood. Yeah. Let's talk about the integrity for your anatomy. Under the hood, the gym selfie fallacy. Why looking fit is a performance, but having a healthy heart is character? Think about it that way. That's interesting, right? Everybody sees the performance. Everybody sees the looking fit piece. And yet, what about the healthy heart? It's interesting and really sad, actually, how often these studs go do these Ironmen or big marathons, and then they look like 100%. Have you seen these stories where they then die of a heart attack? It happens a lot, more than you would ever think, especially for somebody who looks so good. Well, we don't have to have that fear if we're putting the right things in our body. The nitric oxide secret is explaining the miracle molecule of nitric oxide as the fuel for your inner engine, improving circulation so you can show up with energy. Now, there are some people that don't even know what nitric oxide is. Nitric oxide is a gas molecule that ignites within your body when you put the right nutrients in, L-arginine, L-citrulline, and what it does, it relaxes the blood vessels in the endothelial cell line. Now, you don't need to know all this science just to know that it relaxes the blood vessels so you have better blood flow. That's it. It's a very simple thing, and yet it won the Nobel Prize in 1998 for this discovery in medicine. It's a very special thing. And yet, instead of reversing heart disease and cardiovascular issues around the world and throughout our country, instead, it's almost like this knowledge has been hidden away from us for some reason. And so I want you to think about your blood flow. I want you to think for a minute about your own fitness level. And I want you to think about your stress. Yeah. Did you know stress is a silent audience? High performance careers create internal noise like cortisol and blood pressure and all that stuff that's going on inside of us. And it damages the heart, even if you look fine on the outside. It's happening to many, many people that look really, really healthy. And so the hidden metrics are that we need to shift the focus from the scale or the image to blood flow and heart rate variability. And so imagine knowing that your body is functioning properly. You know you're putting in the right nutrients for yourself. You're not relying on the energy drinks or the medications or the other things that can be prescribed, or thinking to yourself, I'm just going to outwork what I've done for my genetics and or the environment that I've allowed to perhaps shift the insides of my body. And so I want to tell you about Cardio Miracle. Cardio Miracle is a miracle product, and it is a family product, and I'm proud of it. My dad is the formulator of this. I am the president of the company. My brother's the vice president. We are fanatical about telling people about the importance of taking this. It's just a simple drink you take. You can take it a couple of times per day. It'll change your life. I'm just telling you, every time I take it, I feel that much better. I go do a workout. My blood flow and vasculature is better because the vasodilation happens. I can pump more iron. I can then do my skiing or my workout and come back and take it again. And the soreness is cut in half the next day. That's because the insides are being rejuvenated. The inflammation is being flushed out. It's being flooded by the right nutrients in your body, and it is a miracle for you. And so if I'm looking at leadership as endurance, you can't lead your family or your team if you're running on empty. Heart health is the infrastructure of leadership. That's why I talk about it on this podcast and this broadcast. It is that important for you and for me and for all of us. So consistency over intensity is like character. Heart health is built in the small daily choices, like taking your Cardio Miracle every single day, not just once a year sprint. So if you're interested in it, I'm going to put up here something that will give you actually a good deal if you want it. And I'm just telling you, this is the smartest thing you could put in your body. This is going to be the way that you can be the father that shows up, the leader that is perfectly capable from the inside out, and you're going to be changing your plumbing. You're going to be changing your body's blood flow. I mean, you're stressed. There's so much going on. The world is throwing darts at us. Let's figure out how we can do it the right way. I believe it's through Cardio Miracle, as well as putting the right things in our body and doing what we've talked about this entire broadcast. Go outside, get some good sleep, listen to some good music. Turn off your social media for a second. Let's cut out the hero myth. Let's break the idea that working yourself to death is a badge of honor. I mean, true heroes stay healthy enough to be present. So question is, if your heart could speak to you today, Would it thank you for how you've treated it this month, or would it be exhausted? I hope that you're around for your family. That's why I'm telling you about Cardio Miracle, because I've seen now thousands of people that have told me how much it helped them in the last decade. In fact, I have people that if their order doesn't come on time, because we do have a 60-day money back guarantee, less than 1% have ever exercised that. But if they don't get their order on time for whatever reason, they're calling me to try to get me to deliver it to them because they need it and want it that much. They feel that much better, that great of a difference. Are you spending more money on the exterior of your life, like your clothes and your grooming, than you are on the interior of your life, the nutrition and heart health? If a doctor told you today that you only have 5 years of peak energy left, what would you change about your daily routine immediately? I hope that you'll take a good hard look at Cardio Miracle. Grab a sample. I put it up here on the screen for you to grab a QR code. If you're not watching, just go to cardiomiracle.com and grab some. But what I want to say is that I just appreciate you being here and giving me a chance to tell you a little bit about what I believe and how we can have a better life, how we can make a bigger difference, how we can take care of our own bodies, how we can improve our ways of being a better, more present parent. And it is a choice from the stage of performance in your work to coming home and being the person that they want to see. Now, I just appreciate you taking the time to be here. And we're going to be here again next week. So thank you for taking a minute with me. If you want to like, subscribe, share, I would be thrilled. But I do have to say this. God bless you. God bless our country. And may you find the peace that you're in search of by keeping the promise. Thanks for joining us on the Jason Hewlett Show.
Do, 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 do.